Hello and welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast. No midweek game this week, John, so a free period for us to talk about different things. So I've dived into the mailbag and pulled out a couple of topics, and there's a few little newsy bits as well. I wanted to spend a couple of minutes on a bit of a roundup from the Villa perspective, if you want to call it that. Are you well? How's things, mate?
No midweek game, which is a bit of a shame. I quite like to get my teeth into a couple of pre-match press conferences in a week, a couple of games, but not to be. Next week we have Brighton and Newcastle, I think. Yeah. And then it's Leeds the week after. So 3 home games in a row, 2 midweek games in the space of like 4 weeks. So it's going to be a bit like this for the next little period.
Yeah, so we wanted to do something. There's still things to talk about in the world of Aston Villa, so here we are. Thanks for joining us, by the way, if you have tuned in. Hopefully we fill some of your midweek boredom, because it does feel a little bit like, when's Bournemouth? Counting down for kick-off in 3 days, so we wanted to do something. So a few topics then. Some not from the mailbag, first of all, I wanted to talk about, that I've seen you writing about, the Leeds ticket gate, if you like. Do you want to talk to me and explain a little bit for those that maybe have missed why this is even a thing in the first place?
Villa confirmed relatively recently their categorisation for the Leeds match. So back in the summer, Villa had reorganised their categories. So I think last season and some years before that as well, it was category A, I believe. I think it was done A and B. Now it's, for Premier League matches, category 3 and category 4. Category 3 is the most expensive matches. So I think the 1888 seats are like 92 quid, and then Zone 1, Zone 2, 80 or 70 something. I should probably get the numbers up, but you know what I'm saying. And then I think it's about 23 or 24 pounds cheaper for Zone 1 and Zone 2 in the category 4 matches. I'm talking about adult tickets, by the way. And category 4 is your cheaper matches. So when we play Burnley at home, for example. But Villa have put category 3 for the Leeds game. So what people would pay without a season ticket to watch Man City and Arsenal, they're going to have to pay to watch Leeds as well, which on the face of it doesn't sound right, does it?
No.
And I don't think this should be a category 3 game, even with Villa's actual justification of it, which is kind of the second element to this. So the justification, firstly, for category 3 matches is top Premier League teams, right? But then it's also and key fixture dates. So, for example, the first match of the season, first home match of the season, and the last match of the season, Villa say, will be, category 3 games because it's high demand. This is what the club say to me. So essentially, they've got, information, pre-sale information about games, and Leeds presumably was tracking well to sell out. What I would balance this with is that Wolves, for example, usually, or in recent seasons, that's been as previously, a category A game. So an expensive match, one of the most expensive, well, literally the most expensive match alongside your Arsenals and Man United to watch Wolves. That changed this season. So Villa brought that down to a category 4, which is the second tier. So you give props to Villa for that, because it wasn't for them tracking as well as maybe previous seasons. Maybe it didn't even sell out. I can't quite remember. But at the same time, the Leeds match, because of this, is now more expensive, because this is the first Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff Villa are going to have for over a year. The last one they played was...
And that's mad in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, the last one they played was nearly a year ago. I think it was February 15 against Ipswich, when we drew 1-1. What a bad result that was.
Thanks for bringing that up, John.
Yeah, so that's Villa's justification, essentially. High demand equals category 3. And I know there's been some backlash to that as well, but the reason to do that piece was more of an explanation of why Leeds, a newly promoted relegation struggling side, would cost the same, match ticket as a Man United, Man City, Arsenal, etc.
Which is crazy, right? That's effectively dynamic pricing, isn't it?
Yeah, no. Well, yeah. Again, based on the team, this is not this is not, in Villa's words, a top Premier League team. It's not. Yeah. But the second part of their category 4, sorry. The second part of the category 3 justification is all key fixture dates. Villa presumably view this as a key fixture date because it's one of very few Saturday 3 p.m. games, and I'm not justifying it. Like I'm the opposite. This should not be costing people 70, 80 quid to go to. That shouldn't be the case if you're an adult. But I'm just giving the reasoning of why Villa have done that. And you're right, they've essentially, seen that there's going to be high demand, so let's put it into a category 3. And I don't think anyone likes that.
Yeah, so what people think in the comments. So keen to hear from fans who are choosing to buy or not buy these tickets, and with the argument that if we want to make money, we have to charge tickets, and I get all that, but it seems high to me.
At least it works both ways, though. And I know that's a very small consolation, because you would say, well, if there isn't high demand for certain tickets, of course they're going to make them less to get more people in the ground. It's a business. But you have to, I suppose, as well, give the balance of Villa aren't just keeping Wolves because it used to sell well high. At least they're going to take it down if there is less interest. But at the same time, I would argue it's in their interest to reduce the cost of those tickets, because they will sell more money. Sell more tickets and make more money with it being a reduction.
Okay, let's move on to talking point number 2. Harvey Elliott, somebody that we've spoken about a lot. We thought maybe things might or could change with his contract, the loan obligation or buy option or whatever. And we were unsure maybe whether Villa could still and Liverpool could still come to an agreement outside of the transfer window. Could that still change? This isn't an update, John, what's happened, but tell me about it.
Yeah. So it appears that they can make changes, but as I said before, I'm struggling to see why Liverpool would allow us to now have our Harvey Elliott at our disposal, essentially, because he's not at our disposal, because he can only play 2 more matches, can't he, before we buy him, and we're not going to buy him unless we drastically change our minds about it. So for that reason, Liverpool are a rival at the moment, and I was going to actually mention this later in the podcast, but this weekend, Dan, we can, if we win against Bournemouth. Well, firstly, can I just quickly, this is not Harvey Elliott, but I like to talk about these things. I'll come back to it. But if Man United win against Spurs, they're only 2 points behind us then before we play Bournemouth, because they play the early kickoff. However, forget Man United. Whatever happens there, if we beat Bournemouth, we would then go 10 points ahead of Liverpool, I believe, because they played on the Sunday and they play at home to City. So not only would we go 10 points ahead of Liverpool, we would go into second place as well. So if we beat Bournemouth, why am I talking like this when you asked me about Harvey Elliott? I just want to get it out.
I don't know.
But I'll get back to it. But if we were to beat Bournemouth, we go into second, 2 points clear of City, I think. Meaning, we've not only have we then got a 10-point gap on Liverpool, but the two teams play each other. So
I would rather.
Yeah, the kind of conversation then would be, well, who would you rather win? Would you want it to be a draw? I suppose a draw, because you would stay second by 1 point, and you would have made a 9-point gap to Liverpool. If we win and they draw, imagine being Liverpool. If we go 10 points ahead of them and then they play on the Sunday, why would they give us Harvey Elliott? I think the only reason they would give us Harvey Elliott without the obligation is if we're far and away, over the hills and we're not a rival for them, which sounds mental, but I think we will stay within Liverpool's grasp, if that makes sense. I say grasp, like within 7 points, and that would be great. That's So I just don't see why Liverpool would help us. I really don't, unless there's a monetary gain for them.
Is there any chance that we do just bite the bullet and activate the buy option and either deal with it and keep him, and Unai tries to get something out of him, or we try and kind of already do the groundwork now of, okay, we're going to have to buy him, but we're also going to sell him in the summer. So let's try and find a buyer now.
I think it's bad business if we do that. We know the position that we're in, and that was reiterated to me after the window closed as well from within the club. We're pretty happy with what we've done considering injuries, but actually, the rules again, hands are tied. We get in the Champions League, but £35 million for, he's hardly set the world alight, even with the games that he has played, Elliott. He's done okay. I want him in the squad and I want to be able to use him, but not for £35 million. I haven't seen enough there.
But is there an argument to suggest that if Harvey Elliott, let's say we buy him, right? The scenario is we play him for more than 10 games and Villa release a statement to say, we're delighted to confirm the signing of Harvey Elliott, or we're okay with the fact that we've signed Harvey Elliott. They might not be delighted about it. But if he helps us achieve what we want to achieve, whether that be a top 3 finish, top 6 finish, Europa League winners, whatever it is, however the season ends up panning out, if he helps us do that thing, but we also don't want him, do you not just treat it as like a massive loan fee of, say, 6 or 7 million,
instead of
buy him for 35 and sell him for 30 or 28 or whatever?
Yeah, but I think that's a risk because we don't know if it's going to help us. I would argue that we can do everything we want to do without Harvey Elliott. It just makes the job a bit easier, for the want of better words. with him in there because he's barely played, and we're third in the league. We're in a title. You know, I know what you're giving. You know, the second. I think you agree with me here, but you're doing what every good podcast host does and ask questions and give different viewpoints. So, for me, no, I don't think we can. Not necessarily literally, but I don't think we can afford to do this, because then if you do, you're then straddled with a player who people know that we will then want to sell. You know, well, you can't afford £35 million, so why would we pay you 30? We'll give you 20 plus 5 add-ons. So, yeah, it's a sad one, but
it's a real shame for Harvey Elliott as much as anything. Both clubs really have let him down.
Yeah, in football terms, it's essentially had pretty much a year out of his career if there's no agreement on it.
Okay, let's move on to the summer window from Unai's Underpants in the mailbag. Why would you pick that? Any chance we can get some insight into how we might expect the summer window to play out? Clearly, yeah, we've only just finished the winter window.
I'm looking forward to the summer.
Good. What will it take for us to be able to actually spend some money, or will it end up being the same as last summer? Unai is absolutely magic, but another window like last summer will further deplete an already depleted squad. He might be a magician, but he's not God. Would he walk if he can't spend to a somewhat better degree? Now, forget the resignation stuff separately. What might the summer look like? Is that dependent on Villa getting in the Champions League?
Well, yeah, Villa will obviously have more flexibility in the Champions League, like we saw previously when Villa signed Nana for, a record fee, a lot of money. But equally, you know, Spurs spending 40 million on Gallagher. Where am I going with this? You know, I'm not going to go. But the point being, we would have a degree of flexibility, but not a lot. You know, we're not talking about Villa can now spend £200 million. And by the way, that's only 4 £50 million players, which is not uncommon anymore. Man United spend 70 on Sesko, 60 on Cunha, and then Mbuemo and others as well. It's ridiculous. And when those teams start doing well, and it's like, oh my God, they're back. Well, what did you expect?
Yeah,
well done. I don't know. I find those things odd, but yeah, we know where Villa are. I would row back on our squad will be depleted again. I understand the point, but 7 out of 8 wins in the Europa League. And we've continued to improve in the league as well, with injuries as well that we're having. I'm not worried about the summer, and I've said that I'm not worried about any transfer window for the last 3 of them or so.
Yeah.
And I think that's been vindicated. I'm not going to be like optimistic, like, wow, we're going to be so much better and we're going to spend this money, because we know the difficulties. But equally, I'm not going the other way of I'm really concerned that we're going to do this or this is going to happen. We could lose, 3 players, and I think we'll be able to replace them because we have Emery. As I said previously, we don't need to be buying the best in class. We just don't. We can manage with what we have because of the manager that we have, and for that reason, I'm always going to be pretty optimistic about where we'll be after a window. And
Villa will always be able to spend more if they sell, right? And you would anticipate potentially this might be the window that we see more change than we've seen before.
It's going to be very interesting, yeah.
Like a Martinez, a Watkins, one of the big hitters like a Kamara, who obviously will be injured, a Tielemans or a Rodgers could gain interest from other clubs.
There's going to be interest in all of our players.
Exactly. If Villa finish top 4 and win the Europa League, there's going to be lots of rumours over the summer of Chelsea want Rodgers, Man City want Tielemans, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
Again, kind of what do you expect? We're a team that's very good and other teams will want to take our players.
Yeah, and I don't know how I think we know how some people view these conversations, and that's fine, but we're only being honest. Like I've just said there, every player will have a price to a point, and that's okay, because the price which you sell players at is the price in which you're happy to do it for, if that makes sense. So, for example, and we always said this back in the summer, we were told by the club, Ollie Watkins is not for sale. Villa will not be selling him. And that's fine. But we also know that unless a big bid comes in of, 40, 50 million pounds or whatever, or maybe not 50 million, should we say? I don't know that for certain, but just as a sort of example, that may have taken Villa to think, actually, you know what? We're not going to get anywhere near that next summer. Let's do it and cash in on this. But for the price band that other clubs would have been willing to pay for Watkins, he's not for sale, because we don't want to sell him for £35 million. You can't benefit from that. Gesson joined in a deal worth up to around £30 million. That it goes to show what difficulty we're in. So With that being said, the summer window is going to be a very interesting one because just so there, Dan, we have a bit of an age, or we do have an aging squad, and I don't mind that as long as there's kind of an underbelly of younger talent coming through.
Yeah,
I think we're trying to do that. You've obviously got players like Anana, Matson, who are essentially starters, but then Alisson, Maggio. Let's see what they've got. I don't know if they're going to be ready next season or even the season after that. We'll have to give them the time. But Villa are in a win now mentality. The process for them is you need to have an eye to the future, of course, but when you have Unai Emery in charge, you win trophies now. You qualify for the Champions League now. You compete for all these things now. So, yeah, for example, Martinez, this will probably be his last season. You're going to have to replace a goalkeeper there who, although he hasn't been particularly good this season, I think that's going to be very difficult. You look at a goalkeeper like Chevalier, who went to PSG, who was, of course, one of Villa's main targets to replace Martinez if he left. And he's not really impressed in Paris so far. He's still young, but it goes to show it's not as easy as just replacing goalkeeper and bringing another one in and they will be fine. You look at the goalkeepers around the Premier League, Robert Sanchez, I think he's got a clanger in him. Vicario, I don't rate at all. Alisson's obviously a good goalkeeper. Man City have one of the best in Donnarumma. Arsenal have David Raya. But even, I think David Raya, if you put him in a side who was maybe a bit more under fire, you'd probably see a bit more of a weakness there. And even he started he was quite shaky when he first joined Arsenal. So, not Martinez chat necessarily, but Ollie Watkins as well, what happens with him? Does Tammy become more of a leading figure, or do you just have both of them and they're sort of, they come in and out? I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting window for sure.
Yeah.
And of course, as you said, there's going to be chats about our players. There will be interest in our players. We'll be in the media a lot, probably more about who we're letting go rather than buying. But this isn't new territory as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to the only villain in Vermont. Surely there's more than one, right? This is a long one, and it's based off the conversation we had on Monday about the route to the Champions League. So I'm going to read this whole thing. Inspired by John's persuasive statistical reasoning as to why we're nailed on for a Champions League spot, and the discussion around whether 1 or 2 or 3 results, not necessarily the performance, constitutes a bad run of form, I took a look at the Premier League form table. Villa have won 7 points in the last 6 games, which, by the way, isn't enough. However, this includes only 2 wins. It also includes 3 defeats, doubling our defeat total for the whole season. We all know the injury context, but it's not great viewing. Elsewhere in the top 6 in the previous 6 games, Man City, 7 points, 1 win. Liverpool, 7 points, 1 win. Chelsea and Arsenal, 11 points, 3 wins. Manchester United, 12 points, 3 wins. Slightly better viewing. Elsewhere in the bottom 6, Wolves 6, West Ham 7, Forest 8, Leeds 6. In fact, across the entire league, in the last 6 games, no team has more than 3 wins, which is Manchester United's win tally. They're on 12 points in the last 6 games, 2 points per game, which is pretty good, right? That's the highest across the league in the last 6 games. Man United are the form team at the moment. So, on to my question. Why is no team able to string a series of wins together, as we saw multiple teams do in the first half of the season? It's not multiple choice, but some of my thoughts are fatigue and injuries as a result of a condensed calendar over Christmas and New Year. Teams near the top, including Newcastle and Spurs, are gearing up for Europe and domestic cup competitions. And now we are 5 games into the second half of the season. Teams are facing each other for the second time and have worked each other out. Looking at the teams we lost to and how we lost, Arsenal, Everton, Brentford, this doesn't necessarily resonate for Villa, and I trust that Emery can outsmart 75% of the other teams in the league tactically. Breathe. Big, long question. And some good research in there, to be fair, of the wins across the league. And we've said this before, no one is really running away with it. Man United at the moment, 3 wins in a row, Fulham most recently, and City and Arsenal. Fair enough. And maybe they do keep winning and finish in the top 4. Sound. As long as we're in there as well, not particularly bothered, to be perfectly honest.
No.
But we've matched points with Liverpool over the last 7 games, so they've not closed the gap. We've matched with Man City, so we've kept pace with them.
Yeah.
So if you look around the league, there isn't like Villa are the outlier that we're in bad form and everyone else is smashing it.
Yeah.
That may change, of course, obviously. But if it kind of carries on as it is, where teams are picking up and dropping points pretty much everywhere, you'd expect the lead to kind of stay as it is, right?
Yeah,
to a certain degree.
And just, but we know what battle we're in. Who asked the question, sorry, from Vermont?
The only villain. The only one there.
Oh, okay. Well, he's
got no one to talk to about it.
It's not a it's not a strange name like Unai's underpants. I think absolutely raises some really good points. But just to focus on Villa for a second, our form would drastically change. And this is obvious one, but we lost to Everton and Brentford at home. If we had won those games, I know you said that about anything. No, I know. But if you play those games 10 times, I'd back us to probably win them 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
And the point I'm trying to make is that I see reasonable reasons why, well, to a point anyway, of why we lost it. For example, the McGinn injury against Everton, which just followed Kamara being out for the season. There was a difficult sort of energy in Villa Park at that point.
Yeah.
The Brentford game, Louise, I know he played well, but 2 debuts or second debuts for those players. Brentford, we know what they're like. I don't think playing against 10 men probably helped us. And I know I'm kind of making excuses here, and you can say, well, any game has its own troubles. But those are the reasons why we weren't outplayed by Everton and we weren't outplayed by Brentford. So I'm not majorly concerned, but it is really important that we pick up quickly. Yeah. Starting against Bournemouth, I don't think a draw would be a bad result, but I wouldn't take it. But it's the games against Brighton and Leeds for me. They're massive. They're huge games. You have to win both. Frankly, if we don't, then I would be concerned, because then the gap I do think might or may have shrunk. And then you've got the European games. Those are the teams. Man United and Chelsea, they've clearly improved. United especially, but Chelsea look like a better unit now as well. As I said previously, Liverpool for me at the moment, I'm not just saying this kind of 14 games left, it's a long way to go, but literally if you look at the table, they are furthest away from us, and they will have a lot of catching to do if they don't beat Man City and we beat Bournemouth, for example. Towards the end of the season, Liverpool's fixtures look quite interesting, so if I quickly grab them up for you. So 18th of April, so this is their last 6 games, right? So they play Everton away, which is never going to be an easy game for them. Then they play Palace at home, okay. But then they play Man United away, Chelsea at home, and then they go to Villa. And we keep saying that we want it to be wrapped up before we play Liverpool at home and Man City, and then possibly a European game final, even in the middle. When, as I mentioned, so when Liverpool play away against Everton, Villa play at home to Sunderland. When Palace play at Liverpool, we would play away to Fulham. We would then play at home to Tottenham. When they play away to Man United, we would play away against Burnley. When they play at home to Chelsea, and then we play Liverpool. So it's a bit of a word salad there, really. But if you look at it yourself, I do think they have some challenging games towards the back end of the season. And we have some relatively winnable ones, I would say, like Sunderland at home. Sunderland don't travel well. I don't know, Brentford
just quickly, there'll be people in the comments screaming out Everton and Brentford were winnable on paper, and we didn't win them.
No. It's absolutely true, but I'm looking more at Liverpool's fixtures and arguing that Everton away is going to be tough. Man United away will be very tough. Chelsea at home, for us, that's great because one of them dropped points, and then they come to us. So what I'm trying to say is that not only do we have games there at the end of the season, I back us to get some good points from home games against Spurs and Sunderland, and then away to Burnley and Fulham. I don't think that's a bad run of 4 games. Contrasting that to Liverpool, bearing in mind we are already 7 points ahead.
It's a lot of work to do to close that gap, isn't it?
And I think even if Liverpool were to close the gap, I don't think they would flip the gap to 7 points on us or something by the time we play those games, and then they come to us. I know that's really hard to sort of listen to. I hope you can maybe rewind it and maybe take it in a bit better if you haven't.
Got to listen to that again. Well.
But they've got a gap to close on us. I hope that it can be extended this weekend, and if it does, it's massive. Yeah. But I'm just looking at their last few games. If, for whatever reason, we are neck and neck with Liverpool, and we want it to be done before possibly a final, or we play Liverpool and City, well, I do think there'll be a good chance for us there to do so. And then, of course, we play Liverpool at home. So even if it is a shootout, should we say, we're at home.
Yeah, I think the biggest rebuttal we had to our argument of like, oh, Villa will be fine, like everyone relax, was, but we've not seen this Villa with the injuries before. What's got us to third and has got us all this great momentum had Youri Tielemans in it and John McGinn in it and Kamara in it. And what's our record like with those 3 players out? And I kept wanting to go back to reply to people, and I thought, there's no point. Have they all ever been out at the same time?
Because we're going to do a podcast on Wednesday.
Probably not. But you'd expect they're 3 good players. To not have them makes it more difficult. My point for like why I think we'll still be okay is, firstly, there's still a long way to go, and the other teams have got to do their job as well. How do I word this in a nice way? The players that are replacing Kamara and McGinn and Tielemans, they're not players from League 2. right? They're Premier League footballers who are just going to have to raise their level. And Barkley has to stay fit. Louise has to stay fit. Bogart's got to step up. Those players aren't as good as the ones they're replacing, but they're still paid a hell of a lot of money, and they're coached by Unai Emery to just go and do the job, step up to your game, win us football matches.
Those games I've just read out there, that period. So the last 6 games of the season, we'll have Tielemans for, we'll have McGinn for.
Yeah,
we are going to have more strength in depth. Maybe not soon, but within the next 2 months, we'll have depth again by the start of April. So you're looking probably after the international break for Tielemans. McGinn before that, I think it's probably a race against time for him to play against Chelsea after the Wolves match. But maybe there's an outside chance of that. And then Man United, you absolutely want him there for that. I absolutely take everyone's point about the injuries, but what we're supposed to do if we sat here and just said, you know what, I think we're bang up against it, and there's not much point in looking forward. Let's just see how we go with these injuries. It firstly makes a terrible podcast, but then secondly, I think it's quite defeatist. Injuries happening this season. We said before we lost Kamara and then finishing in fourth. We've lost lots of the players before. Anana has been in and out of the team a lot, and we've coped without it. We just rather would have him here. So, we will get more injuries as well. I'm sure at some point Torres may miss a game, or even Konsa. Hopefully not. Touch wood. But it's it's just something you got to do.
Other clubs will have injuries. Dorga's out for 10 weeks. All right.
Yeah.
Other players will be out for a long period of time as well. And you get to the point of the season where there's not many games left, and it's they're out till the end of the season. It's only a 4-week injury. There's only 4 weeks left, and that'll be a real blow for clubs to miss their players. It will inevitably happen. Yeah,
and again, we're fairly confident here that top 5 should be Champions League. And if so, we've only got to finish above one of those teams. And some people will be saying, at the start of the show, you said, if we beat Bournemouth and City don't win, we go second. Why are we not looking up? I said previously, and I think I'm not.
Hopefully we are still looking up.
I don't want an applause here. We don't want an applause, but it's more of this is why we never entertained title talk, because we don't have, and we said it, we don't have the depth. As soon as we get a few injuries, we're not going to be able to replace Saliba and Gabriel with, I wish we could have those 2 players, but we're not going to be able to have, our main 2 defenders with Calafiori and Cappier and, Mosquera, whatever, like Arsenal can. There's levels to the depth here, and we are way beneath even City as well. So, just kind of cap on that one. I think, Liverpool for me at the moment are the team that I'm a little bit, okay, am I going to concentrate on them? Because I do think Chelsea have had a nice upturn and it looks quite sustainable. And United are winning games. That man might get a haircut soon, which is a lot. And as I say, those Liverpool fixtures at the end, I isolate those, and I think, well, even if they flip the 7 points on us, which means that we've had a terrible few weeks and they've had an amazing few weeks, I still think that once McGinn and Tielemans come back for that run, we could probably make up some points there, even if we needed to. And I don't think we're in a bit of a bind
in that position. Then your players come back, and it's like, it's do or die now. You've got to win 3 more games. You're just going to have to go and do it.
That Liverpool game is a 6-pointer, so we can jump above them if we had to. But even before that, are Liverpool going to win at Everton, at Man United, and beat Chelsea at home?
Whilst we're losing. Sure.
Whilst we lose to Fulham, whilst we lose to Burnley and the other Spurs, and there was another one in there, Sunderland at home as well. I think those things are unlikely, but
possible, because that's football.
Yeah.
Which is what we keep saying. Okay, we're going to end with a little game, John. We've had a mailbag from Berkir Bjarnason's Dazzling Locks, who's given you a little bit of a task to work out who is the best Villa striker. So I've been sent 16 Aston Villa strikers that Berkir Bjarnason's Dazzling Locks has put into brackets for us, and we're going to end with a winner, right? Ali Samatta or Wesley?
Wesley.
Okay. Gabby Bonlahor or John Duran?
For the amount of goals he scored, I will say Gabby, but I do like Duran.
Cameron Archer or Rudy Gestede?
Oh, man. Oh, jeez.
God, is it Archer just about?
I'm gonna say Archer just because he comes through the youth.
Yeah, Gestede got relegated. Codger or Watkins?
Watkins.
Danny Ings or Lewis Grabban?
Danny Ings is a better player than Lewis Grabban.
Yeah. Daniel Marlon, Keenan Davis.
I love
you love Keenan, don't you?
I love Keenan, yeah. Marlon, by the
way. Not even worth asking this one. Borja Baston or Tammy Abraham?
Tammy.
And Christian Benteke or Scott Hogan? Again, not worth asking.
Benteke.
So, Wesley or Gabby?
Gabby.
That took longer than I thought. Cameron Archer or Ollie Watkins? Ollie Watkins, okay. We know what the semi-final is on that side of the bracket. Danny Ings or Daniel Marlon?
Marlon.
Marlon. Tammy Abraham or Benteke? Oh, a bit more to that one.
It's Benteke.
Benteke, yeah. But the honourable shout for Tammy Abraham, who was very good in his one season and maybe very good in his second spell.
He is now here. An honourable shout to Gusted as well for scoring against Blues.
Semi-final number 1, Gabby Bonlahor or Ollie Watkins?
Ollie Watkins.
Our 2 top strikers in the Premier League era. You're going straight for Watkins?
Yeah, because he is the top.
Yeah, okay. On the other semi-final, Doniel Marlon or Benteke?
Benteke.
Yeah, which leaves the final of what I think are probably, at least for people of our age.
You could have said this 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, you could have just gone straight to who's the best striker, Benteke or Watkins.
And Wesley.
Yeah, what a waste of time the round of 16 was. Thanks, Berkey Bjarnason's dazzling locks. If the question was just who do you prefer or who's your favourite, Benteke or Watkins, they're the 2 best strikers, I think, of the recent era, right? Benteke was the best player from when we were crap. Watkins is the best striker we've had since we've got promoted.
Yeah.
So
I think this is much harder than what people may suggest.
Okay.
I think a lot of people would just say, Benteke, 100% Benteke.
Really? I thought you were going to say the opposite. I think people would just go Watkins.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think it's either. I think if you put a straw poll, I think a lot of people would say Benteke. I think it would be 60-40 Benteke. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I think we might be able to do a poll on YouTube. So if we can, it'll appear on screen somewhere. If not, write it in the comments.
I think Watkins as well, but I just think people will disagree.
I base my reasoning on, I think Benteke had that instinctiveness of just doing something and creating something out of nothing and making us and keeping us up, basically. He was very good for that period. My answer is more based on the fact that we're way better now. And Ollie Watkins is our record goal scorer.
If this was a one-off game and you had 2 teams that fitted exactly the right, both players fitted in the system perfectly, like optimum levels for both, I would rather Benteke. Because I think his best is better than Ollie Watkins' best. But over the course of the season, I would probably say Ollie, because his availability, although he's just missed the last game, is usually very good. And Benteke did have a few injury problems, didn't he?
Yeah.
Achilles and something else. So I would give it Watkins, but I think it's really tight. And it depends what the question is, of what my answer would be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think if you said who's your favourite, I might then go for Benteke.
Yeah, and he was, and in that time, I think we love him even more because he was the saviour for the seasons. But I would just give it Ollie for, and it says, I think that says a lot because we love Benteke and everything he did for Villa, and I still put Ollie above it, which speaks volumes of Ollie. I just think sometimes he gets a bit of some bad sort of, I don't know. I just think Benteke would get more from fans. I don't know.
Enjoyed that, John? A few different talking points there for us to get our teeth stuck into in this midweek episode. We'll be back for a Bournemouth fan zone, and possibly we might do a Q&A, actually. We might do a Q&A live on Thursday and then the Bournemouth episode on the Friday. Depends how much is in the mailbag. If there are non-Bournemouth things you want us to talk about, please send them in and we'll discuss them. If there are 10 comments in the mailbag and they're all about Bournemouth, we'll just do one Bournemouth episode. So it's kind of over to you, whoever's listening to this. If you want a Q&A, send in some questions. If you want some Bournemouth chat, send in some Bournemouth chat. You decide where this show goes next. But we'll be back on Thursday or Friday and the post-match on Saturday evening as well. So, John, thank you for joining me on this one. Thank you for watching or listening, and we'll see you on the next one.